game is an amateur game. I mean, the professional side of it, there are idols and heroes and fun to watch them play. But I mean, if it wasn't for amateur golf, there would be no golf.
You have to remember, when you play a golf course and you're out there for 4 hours or whatever, you're only hitting a ball for 15 minutes of that. So there's a lot of time to look around.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Top 100 Clubhouse. I'm your host, James Henderson. I'm here with the editor, Jasper, and we're very fortunate to have a legend of Welsh golf in Ian Woosnam. How are you doing, Ian?
Very good.
We always like to start off on the podcast about where did you fall in love with golf and how did golf start for you? Because we always like those stories.
Yeah, I guess my dad and mum were from Mid Wales, and they moved from Mid Wales into sort of England, right on the very border, a little village called St Martin's. And I was born at home on the farm, which was on the English side, and my older brother and sister were born in hospital, which was in Chirk, which was in Wales. So that's how I started. And then my dad used to play, a bit of cricket. He used to play football for his local team, St Martin's. And then we got to an age where he couldn't make the team anymore, and all his mates were starting to play this game of golf. And he thought, I'll have a go at this. So he chucked us all in the car one day, went up to the golf course called Llanymynech, which is sort of right on the border again of Wales. And where, as most probably all of 15 holes in Wales and 3 holes in England, right across the board. It wasn't like that to start off with, but when they created these 3 new holes, it went into England. So quite an interesting story. So as a 7-year-old, one Hickory shafted golf club, and went around the golf course and with my mum and dad and my brother and sisters, and just fell in love with the game of golf.
Were you a natural from the get-go?
I guess I was, yeah. I was just, we only had 2 bunkers on the golf course, and I eventually, it's very hilly golf course, and I eventually got some more clubs, but I think I had a little like a driver sort of thing, and a little sort of like which was probably a little 8-iron sort of thing. So that, when I get in the bunkers, I was just natural. I didn't even think about it. Just, I watched a lot of TV, and even when I'm from 7 years of age, we'd watch golf up to when I was turned professional, really, and learned how to play the game of golf that way as well.
Was the club very supportive of you when you were kind of growing up?
Oh, unbelievable. We had a guy called Bernard Thomas, and he sold eggs all over North Wales, and so he was our junior organizer, and he used to run all these little competitions, especially on a Wednesday afternoon. We'd all get up there, we'd milk the cows, and we'd get up there even at 6 o'clock, and we'd have little competitions. And, if there was tournaments on, he would take us around these different places to play. It'd be like the Daily Telegraph competition. It'd be the North Wales boys, and different places we'd play. And also we had some really good players in Llanymynech Golf Club, Andy Griffiths, Basil Griffiths, Peter Martin. We've always had some good players from Llanymynech Golf Course.
As a golf course, you said it was very hilly, 2 bunkers. Is there any golf course in the world that you can think of that crosses borders?
It must be. There's got to be, can't be?
There must be. Must be more than one.
But it might be. Again, there must be maybe something close in Wales or on the English border or any Scottish borders. There's got to be sort of that sort of happening in other countries, really, I would have thought. But it's the only one I can think of anyway.
Yeah, very much so. I know it's a very hilly site. Do you think growing up there gave you a really good understanding of how to deal with elevation change? And then that probably helped you in winning the Masters, where the elevation is a huge variety.
Yeah, I think if Bernard Langer was there, he'd have been there forever trying to get a flat lie. When you play with Bernard, he'll move 2 inches because it's a little flatter. We could have been, if he played at Llanymynech, he would, he'd never tee it up. Yeah, exactly. And which is fantastic. You get to learn the ball's above you, it's below you, it's on an uphill, it's on a downhill. You learn the character of the game of golf and how to play the right shots. Even now, I see some players play, and you just try to play the same shot off a downslope or the upslope. It's amazing that I had my friend playing the other day. I said, "Look, you've got to take a club less, less, and then put it back in your stance on a downslope, and then that'll change. If it's a 7-iron, that's going to change into a 6-iron. So if it's an 8-iron distance, take a 9-iron, which he did, moved it back, knocked it on the green, 2-putt. Thanks, guys. Give us your cash." And that was it. So it's just the simple things, and that's what you learn. And playing, up obviously is very early course, it's very windy as well. So you had everything. I know we didn't have much bunkers, but we learned to play every kind of shot on that one golf course.
There's so let's talk a wee bit about why you represented Wales rather than England, because you sound like you were born in England, but had your siblings were Welsh. So what was the decision there? How did it all come about?
Well, a simple question really is when I turned professional, I always represented Wales as a boy. I don't know really why. I played for English. I played for Shropshire, which is English, but then in Wales, I played for the Welsh boys. And then I guess naturally when I turned professional, you have to choose where you want to go. And I just naturally thought Wales. I'm a pretty good golfer, but I found that Wales might be better for me to get into more competitions, and it would be better for me to go that way because I had the likes of playing against for Sandy at Sandy Lyle actually went Scottish in the end because we played together in Shropshire, so he was born in England as well. So we had the likes of Faldo and others great players, and I felt that it would have been harder for me to have made a living by going into England. So I had the choice to go for Welsh, so that's what I did.
Did you and Sandy growing up play against each other in Shropshire?
We played a lot against each other, but we also play a lot together. He was my partner in the Shropshire team, so it was great, and I've said to this story for many and many times. It's funny enough, I was at a golf course called Hill Valley when I was young, and I went back there last Saturday, and it was 50 years anniversary. I can't believe it. Peter Allis, Dave Thomas course built 50 years ago, and I caddied for Peter Allis. It's amazing seeing some of the players, seeing some of the members. I mean, some of them are like really old now, and very interesting. Looking at the trees, and I thinking I planted all them trees and everything. But it's I played with Sandy. We used to play me, Tony Minchell, and Martin Poxon and Sandy Lyle used to play all the time. We used to have a match every week if everybody was on. But Sandy was my partner, and one I was just going to say the story a lot of times is that when you have someone like Sandy Lyle at 14, 15 years of age and see the way he played, and you knew he was going to be the best golfer in the world, there's no doubt about it. You had someone to show you where you needed to get in your career, and that's where I needed to get as good as Sandy Lyle. And fortunately, as it turned out, I had that as a baseline, and Sandy gave me that baseline, and eventually I got there.
It's such a cool story, the fact that the two of you almost drove each other along to get to the highest depth zones, which is probably a Masters win each,
Well, yeah, he's an open as well. It's just to see how talented he was when he was young, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard a lot of people talk about, Tiger Woods came later, but Sandy's ball striking was a different sound, is what I heard from people.
Yeah, nearly as good as mine.
Well, I was watching a few videos of your ball striking earlier, and I was like, I don't know whether it was the irons or your ball striking because it sounded like a rocket.
Well, it's funny that people walk on the practice ground and just watch, and they're not. It's like my caddy says, well, a friend of mine says, when when he walks on the practice ground, he knows where I'm practicing because there's a different sound to it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I've heard. Yeah, but you notice the difference when you see even
You know,
pros when they get older. It's the ball. It's the ability to strike the middle of the club
no,
regularly
no
is
doubt about
just
it.
incredible. So tell me a bit about Welsh golf. Growing up in Wales or around Wales, you played a lot of golf around Wales. Where where should people go? Where's people's where should their attention be drawn to if they want to go and play in Wales?
Well, it all depends what sort of like if you were coming, what you want to try and do it because Wales is not a, as you know, not a very big place, and it's a little difficult to travel around Wales because there's only sort of airport at Cardiff, and there's not really one north in the north unless you fly to Liverpool, which is in England, which is not far from North Wales. So you basically, if for me, for golf for Wales, that we could do with having another airport out in the middle, which would open up the golf completely. Which there is an airport right by Royal St David's Golf Course, but it's a military one. But even so, like you can fly into Cardiff and you can go and play all the golf courses around that sort of area, and obviously then you travel from the Porthcawl. You've got courses out Tembe. There's dozen Ashburnham. That's a great little golf course, and you move up, and then you'll come up to Borth, Barmouth, Aberdyfi. Then you'll move up to Royal St David's, Portmaddock, and then come up to Conway, and then there's a Maesteg. There's a lot of great golf courses around there, so it's a great little trip. Well, without people knowing about it really, and it's a shame that I feel that Wales haven't advertised like where Ireland does and Scotland does. It's England's fine because it seems to just such a bigger place, but if the Welsh Tourist Board spent the money more on advertising, I'm sure they would get a lot more players. That people come from different parts of the world to play it in Wales.
Well, Jasper and I both agree there's a huge amount of quality in Wales, and I know we've both been there to play. And if you're wanting a cheaper trip, it's actually very affordable to play golf in Wales.
Yeah, it's. I was taking compared to something if you were trying to play St Andrews, Kings Barnes, and everything, that is just ridiculous how much they're paying now, and then you do your caddy and everything.
That's the other thing about Wales is these holiday towns that not forgotten about outside of, but are forgotten about from outside of Wales. There's still some Liverpudlians that travel to the north of Wales, but you can get really good accommodation for a good price.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We're going up there. As I say, a room is just over like £100, and you can get your golf half decent, and I don't know, whatever you're spending, it doesn't. It's one day, one night stay and a game of golf. It's just like playing one round of golf somewhere in Scotland or Ireland. It's that is the trouble, and it's so popular the golf in Scotland and Ireland at the moment.
Do you think it's a shame that Wales has never got an Open?
Well, we could argue all day long about that. Did speak to someone about it, but it didn't go down too well. Yeah, it's they always go on about Porthcawl. We've had some British seniors there. Uh, yeah, the trouble is, it's the weather has just been so poorly for them, and I think it puts people off. Has it got the infrastructure? When I spoke to someone about it, the answer was yes. It would go to Porthcawl or somewhere like that, but you got to have the infrastructure to be able to have it. You need like 200 acres around it to put the infrastructure into that as well. So, and basically the answer was, well, you haven't got the infrastructure, so it's never going there. So my answer was I wanted to build my own golf course. I had some backers. I could still get some backers to build our own tournament course for the Open, and build it especially for the Open. and didn't like that answer.
Sometimes I think that's the case, is that the infrastructure gets like used as a reason why it's impossible, and then they move heaven and earth to get to Sandwich, which is not an easy task. Once you get there, it's fine.
Yeah.
But infrastructure, roads and rail are not brilliant. And then the same thing, with the amount of work that they're trying to do with regards to Portmarnock as well. I mean, that's no small feat to try and get the infrastructure sorted there. They're going on about tunnels and roads and rails and all sorts of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
an interesting one. It's convenient, I think, to say infrastructure.
Well, go on about that.
Such a
Portmarnock is one of my favorite golf courses, and I played not so long ago there. And yeah, you got, like, in the olden days, you could be able to walk across it, but it was dangerous. It's all dependent. But you could quite easily have little overcrafts going across, from there on the old, and then you've got the old race course on the other side of the road in Baldoyle. So I can see it happening, but it's a great golf course. But as you say, you've got to try and get people onto it. That's the most difficult thing. But I think you can overcome that.
Well, there's a lot of golf courses like Royal St. Why wouldn't Royal St. David's be able to host it? It's got quite a bit of land.
Yeah, exactly.
far away.
And Lord Harlech owns all that land around there. I don't think he owns the club, but he owns all them dunes. So there is enough of land there to build another golf course. And I mean, in them dunes, it would be just like Portrush.
It's the best dune land in Wales.
Yes, no doubt about it. You can't find, there isn't any more like that. So, Wales heritage is pretty difficult to deal with as well. We're dealing a bit with them on Abu Dhabi, and if you be fair with them, they'll let you do what you want to do, really. But you just got to speak to them properly, really.
One of my favourites in Wales is Abu Dhabi, and I know it's close to your heart.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about the golf course and the experience of being at Abu Dhabi.
Well, for me, from where I lived in Oswestry, in the winter, we could just jump in the car because we could be frozen over in Oswestry, but we could, within an hour and a half, we could be in Abu Dhabi and play 36 holes in a day, and the sun could be shining down there, no frost, maybe a bit cold, but you're playing 36 holes, you're walking briskly, playing fastly, and it was a great to go down there. And again, it's like something like Royal Dublin, 9 holes out, 9 holes coming back. So whenever it was going to be downward going down, you've got to make your score. But when you're coming back, you've got to sort of hang on a little bit. It all depends which way the wind was, or it could be left or right and everything. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Unbelievably, it would be great if, in a scenario, the clubhouse would be in the middle of the golf course. That would be fantastic. Like the hotel up on the top of the hill there, just halfway, somewhere around by the fifth hole there. So, if you can imagine that being the clubhouse, or the clubhouse being down there somewhere where you could have 9 holes going one way and 9 holes going the other way, really. So, it blends it out a little bit better. If you're building a golf course, that's sort of what you want a bit. I like Portmarnock, really. The first 9 hole goes around in a circle, then your next 9 goes around in a circle. You end up at the same place after 9 holes and 18. So that's a great blend of going. And if you can have it going right to left or left to right, it's a great combination as well.
Would you, if you were to speak to the Welsh golf, if you were head of the Welsh Golf Union, what would you say to the clubs or say to the people?
I'd really like to see that if you were going to sports minister, put some money into golf, especially for youngsters. When's the next sort of Ian Woosnam, Phil Price, Bradley Dredge, David Llewellyn, as I can go on. Where are these next guys coming through? There's hardly anybody playing from Wales now on the tour. So, first of all, not just that, you need the infrastructure, as you say, to have these guys playing. So, need the money, as you say, advertisement for golf in Wales. So maybe some of that money goes into tourism. That tourism can put money into Welsh golf and build it from there. But if you haven't got the right infrastructure to start off with, it's going to be difficult to get the golf courses going, really.
Yeah, it's actually really difficult to get from Cardiff to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, exactly.
surprisingly annoying place to drive around Wales. It's
Well, you
beautiful, so
either
you
got
don't
to
have
go
any
over,
problems.
yeah, you've either got to go over the Brecon, or you got to go around up to where I used to live, also Strahan, over to Hereford and that way. So it's a hell of a drive. Yes, I said if they did have a little airport in the middle there, as I said, where the little commuter airplanes can go. You're in Cardiff and you could fly. You could fly to mid Wales, or I can't believe there's anything up by Llandudno. And Llandudno's a big place. I think there's like 1 million people up there or something. So can't believe
Wow.
we haven't got anything up there.
I'm shocked I didn't notice that many people.
I'm not 100%, but I'm just it's quite a big place in the area around it. But there's one thing is when you think about it, it's like some of the old golf courses, like Turnberry, Muirfield, Troon. It's that they've got that train station goes straight past Abu Dhabi, straight past the Royal St David's, and straight up to up to Conway. The train can be such a useful place to travel around Wales, and so I think now it doesn't really go that often. It doesn't work that much often. It does still go, but we're thinking of going from Abu Dhabi to St David's to play. Okay, we can take the car, but if you want to have a couple of pints, it's be easy to jump on the train.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then obviously, if you're in Llandudno, if they did have a tournament there, you could travel from Llandudno, where there's plenty of houses and plenty of hotels and everything, Conway, and travel down on the train every day, which is it's only 40 minutes on the train, 30 minutes on the train or something.
Conway's meant to be stunning as well.
Isn't it? You get on the train there at Dram, and it goes straight into Edinburgh.
Is there any golf course in Wales you would say aren't talked about, deserve to be talked about?
Well, it's funny enough, you tend to play the same places all the time. I haven't played enough of golf courses, the Langley Bays and Tenby. I haven't played Tenby. Ashburn I played when I was about 15 years of age. I haven't played the new Jack Nicklaus one, whatever it is. I played Southern the Southern Down putter we used to play. That's a great little golf course on top of the hill as well, with all the cows and the sheep. What? I haven't played enough of golf courses in Wales to sort of like say what's this and what's that. Maybe I should be traveling around a little.
Do you hold any course records in Wales?
Yeah, a few of them. Don't ask me where they are, but I have, because I was just about to say that. I think I had the course record at Royal St David's, and the next day at Nevin, I think I shot the course record again there. So yeah, well, I did have the course record at Clonmacnoise as well. So I'm not sure.
You probably got a few more kicking around. You just forgot.
Maybe, yeah.
Just these things that have happened.
I've not got a very good memory.
Right, tell me a few stories. There must be some fun stories of your time. You must have some funny moments growing up in Wales and playing golf.
Well, it's just basically, you're just like when we used to work on the farm. We have to sort of, in the summer especially, we have to do the hay bales of corn and everything, milk the cows, and we didn't really have that much time to play golf. So my dad, like usually on the weekend, we do our work on a Sunday, and then we shoot to the golf course and play around the golf, and then have to go back home to milk the cows. But after, when I got a little bit better, when I got to about 14, 15, he sold the cows, and we went into arable farming. And of course, we didn't have to go back for the cows, but we still had to sort of do the corn and everything. So, but it did leave us a little bit more time to play golf, and especially at night times and things like that. When the summer was about, we could go at night time and play some golf, play 9 holes. But as I was a youngster, I didn't really get enough to play golf, on the golf course. So I spent a lot of time at home hitting golf balls, where I built my own little net in the cow shed, hitting golf balls into that. And when I did get the chance, when I left at 16 to go and to live at Hill Valley Golf Course, and that's where I sort of started learning my trade a little bit more by hitting golf ball after golf ball. And but as we were youngsters in in Wales, we go up and play these little competition, the Welsh boys against the South boys. And I remember going down to South Wales, and I think I can't remember which course it was now. And oh God, we used to try and sneak some beers in and whatever, and have a lot of fun. I mean, it was great times, but yeah, I think I carried on doing that as well.
No,
I've only just grown up.
Well, I wish I could live a life like that. I never want to grow up. Life's a lot more fun when you're not growing up.
Well, that's right. You've got to have fun. If you don't have fun in life, life's too short, isn't it? So,
Do you think being a person who's grown up around sheep, cattle, hay bales, all these things, a lot of manual labor, do you think a lot of your strength came from being on the farm? Your distance came from that?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's funny because I was talking about the other players from Slunnamunnock, Andy Griffiths, who was a professional, and he sort of like did training, built his arms up, built his legs up, and everything. And that's what I concentrated on. Like I can remember, I had a hose pipe, the hose pipe, and you have to press it to make it work. And I used to just get it and just press it and press it and press it and press it to sort of my arm was bulging. Look, I've got a thing on now. It just
It's still a chunk of you.
and it just bulged. And then we'd be watching the TV at night time, and I found an old lead bar, an old lead bar, and I just put my feet back 3 inches off the ground and just put this lead bar on it to build my legs up. And then I used to drive the tractor, no power steering. I used to just press it with my left finger. So I wanted to get that finger better and do it with my fingers, just all different kinds of thing. And, I just sort of like, even if I was picking a hay bale with a fork or a pike, throw it. And that's what I tell a lot of people about how you should swing a golf club. It's like shoveling muck, you know what I mean? In with it.
Don't worry, you're allowed to swear.
And that's what you want to do is throw it you want to hit the ball with your right side, and building up your back muscles and your shoulders is very important for golf. And anything wanted lifting heavy, my dad always make me do it. I think that's why I got about it. He said one day, I'll never forget this day. We got, you're out in the field and you got one of them tin. You're a farmer, aren't you? So and you go on them tin for water and everything. He said, Ian, get the tractor and the trailer and take that into the next field. I said, okay, Dad. So I just picked it up and threw it over the edge. I said, that's easier, Dad. Oh, dear. We had some great times. Yeah.
It's a great lifestyle.
Yeah, I remember we had a horse, right? We only had one horse. It was like wild. And he's trying to get it, and he's got this rope around his neck. And next thing I've seen him, he's on the ground, and he's like running around. Oh, God.
Like in the movies.
It was in the movies, yeah.
Well, that's a wonderful insight into Welsh golf and your upbringing in golf. We're very much a architecture podcast, really is our main thing. So when did you first fall in love with golf course architecture? Well,
I think as you sort of get a bit older and you realize, you start looking at golf courses and how they've developed and how they've changed and now they've, which way the wind goes and everything. And obviously working with my best friend DJ Russell as a partnership, like he's got onto it much more before me, and I've seen him do a few designs. And just talking about Archiefield, we used to go, before it was even playable, when it was being designed and everything, and he would ask me questions and what I thought and everything. And I've always believed that you want to see everything what's in front of you. I don't believe particularly like blind holes, but I like it. But the thing is, I think it's very important. I think we both think it's very important is that when you're designing a golf course, it's got to be playable for everybody. It's just not professionals. It's more important, but most probably for amateurs. And I find sometimes guys put bunkers in places where all it's doing is penalising the bad players. You want to penalise the good players. they put a bunker like 250 yards off the fairway. You got an old pensioner trying to play, and all he's doing is going in this bunker every time. Well, no, what you want to do? And it's all he's doing is slowing a play. And it's like, you want to, if you've got a green, you want to put a slope on the right-hand side, let the ball run into it, or the left-hand side, or what, make the ball. It's not just about you can fly it on the green. You've got to be able to shape it, put it in there, run it in, use the contours, and I think that's extremely important. But the trouble is, the game of golf is changing so quickly. Where do you plant bunkers off the tees now? These guys, all they're doing now is let's hit it 330, and then we'll wedge it out because we can get on the green with a wedge. And it's on. All you cannot. Then what do? You just make the gruff so severe. But let's start the bunkers at 300. Then 320, then 340 or something. But then you've got to remember when them slopes are in them bunkers, if you're on, let's say for me, I'm in a slope that it's, I'm in the best I can do is at 5 iron, I'm taking a risk, but I know I can hit 6 iron now. So you want to always be in that bunker where you're always taking a risk that you can't reach the green out of the bunker. But if you take that risk, you could possibly get it on the front edge. You know what I mean? It's amazing how the ball's down. Like when we did the Ryder Cup at the K Club, I put a bunker on the 18th over the top of the other bunkers and I put it down. It was only about 4 foot deep. It wasn't, and it was only about 8 yards long. And I got Paul Casey to hit it out of this bunker, thinking, there's no way. He just got 5 iron, hit it straight in the middle of the green. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. How high he could launch it, but how far he could hit it as well. So where do you start? Where do you start?
How much has golf changed for you since you were competing to the modern day?
Well, look at me. I'm 67 years of age. I hit my driver further than what I was then. And I was one of the longest drivers in the world. And my irons is just exactly the same distances, even further, if anything. But
are you quite an equipment nerd?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm playing with Ogans, Ben Ogans. They've just been redeveloped and they're fantastic. And everybody looks at them and think, well, how are you hitting them? And then they have a hit with them. It's amazing how much you can hit them in the air. It's incredible. But the feel of them is just incredible when you hit them.
I know Jasper's got a question about equipment that he wants to ask you.
Go on,
I'll let him.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that. So I think it was Bernard Longer that won the Masters, the last individual to win the Masters with Persimmon, and he used a Woods Brothers. So I play most of my golf Persimmon golf, just my local club. Where I play my golf lends itself to it. But you weren't too far behind. Probably one of the last ones. I know you're familiar with the course at Augusta.
91, but I wooden head but graphite shaft. Yeah. Now I thought it was a Lazabelle.
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah, I could have that wrong. Yeah, but early 90s, however it won. We'll fact check that one. Maybe James will.
It's amazing how modern that equipment is, right? We're 30 years since metalheads.
Yeah.
I'm older than metalheads, and it's kind of like how has golf adapted since then? When Tiger was on the scene, it was 290 yards was considered a big drive.
Yeah.
Now these guys are hitting at 350, and people like Bryson are doing bigger than that.
Yeah.
Where, from a pro's perspective, does a golf course go, and how does it deal with that without ruining golf for everyone?
Well, one thing it's done, I've had a few arguments about this at the Open at St Andrews Old. It's almost past its date because the guys, you could get someone like DeChambeau drive 9 greens, which is possible. We might have been close this time. So how do you fetch that golf course back into play golf into a major championship? Really, because it can make it look stupid. Although it does hold up right, but it takes what 6.5 hours to play around there. You know, I did say, why don't you keep St Andrews Old as, you know, that's a souvenir's history, and build another golf course on the side of it, on the old and the new, whatever it's called. I make a golf course specifically for the Open and play it there every year like the Masters. That's what
Do you know what, Ian? You're not too far. There was chat. I mean, this is going back quite a few years, but there is evidence of it was spoken about publicly and in the media that there was a super course at St Andrews that could be built. So like a sort of like a Royal Melbourne, where they do a composite between the east and the west, but being able to do it with some of the St Andrews courses. So it's something that has been tossed around quite a few times, but it's definitely not been recently. But it'd be an interesting idea, an exercise anyways, to see if he could do it. Well, but do you think?
The thing is, if you got 500,
I was just thinking, like,
go on.
No. So the question was, like, when you think about playing the Masters at Augusta, the Open at St Andrews, you want to keep those tournaments on those two courses. So, absolutely. And even you think about the U.S. Open, I think going back to Marion, I mean, these are golf courses that are not going to be able to be stretched. Do you think by saying, okay, we're going to have these tournaments at these courses, that's almost a shot across the bow to the equipment manufacturers to say, okay, here's the high water mark. We're working within that from now on.
Right. That was a question before we got into that. And what I've said publicly, what I think is that pros, the amateurs should be playing whatever they want to play. They can keep playing whatever they want to do. Because it's all right changing this ball by 10%. If you can't get it over 100 miles per hour, it's a waste of time anyway. So it's not making any difference to your club head speed over 100 miles, not making any difference. So what you need to do is have you're going to need at the pros equipment only going the same as the amateurs. So the pros have equipment and the amateurs have equipment. So then all of a sudden, like, you know, even when I play now, I can hit it 280 yards, but I'm 80 yards behind Rory off the tee. That's the driver. And then he's hitting 2 clubs left of me as well. So it's 100 yards and 450 yards. It's ridiculous. And then when I play with a lot of amateurs with my golf, I'm 20, 30 yards past them as well. So, you know, what we want to do is, so I feel that if the RNA or whatever, the USGA come together and say, right, this is our standard, or change the ball, it'll only go this far distance, it'll fetch all the golf courses back into it. But all the amateurs, so the manufacturers can just keep making whatever they want to do, and they can still make their money that way. But at the end of the day, we're going to have golf courses. If you ask AI how long a golf course used to be, like 9 to hit the same clubs as like Jack Nicklaus did or I did or whatever in them days, you'd have to have it 9,000 yards long. More, you know, fertilizer, more stuff going in the air. It's, you know, more space, more time, it takes longer to play around. The wife's not going to be happy, you know, why you've been out for 7 hours, you know, where you been? You know, well, I've only just finished, you know what I mean?
Thank you very much for listening to part 1 of this 2-part episode with Ian Woosnam. In the next part 2, which comes out next week, you'll be getting chat about his Barbadian life and why he's fallen in love with the island of Barbados, and all the questions that you asked on the social media. And thank you very much for listening. Remember to play fast, lunch slow.